Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today we have a very special guest, Demi. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. I'm very glad to be here and I'm doing fine. How about you?
Doing well, doing well. I'm happy to have you on. I've been following you on YouTube for a while now, kind of since you started doing content about freelancing and online business, and really started watching a lot more of your stuff like during, the kind of pandemic period where everyone's like kind of inside and trying to figure out, what's going on with work.
Yeah.
So if you want to just give a little bit of an intro, kind of who you are, what you do, how you got into this whole freelancing world, that would be awesome.
My name is Demi Bernice. A lot of people call me just Demi, and I live in the Philippines. I'm turning 26 years old by the end of the year. I have been doing online business or digital marketing for 5 years now, and I started as a freelancer. So I've been a freelancer, or I was a freelancer for 3 years, and then I shifted to coaching, and then now I'm
Hmm.
touching a little bit more of like being on the background and kind of like not being in the spotlight very recently. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've been teaching Filipinos freelancing for quite a while. And now I'm also teaching them a lot of, ways on how to make money online, not just on freelancing. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's it.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's I feel like a lot of people kind of go on that natural progression where it's like they start freelancing, they find out that okay, I can kind of do this, and then as you start to get more, work, then your time kind of goes down. So then you try to kind of shift it and
Yeah.
you're like, okay, now how can I maximize my time, kind of teach what I've learned. So that's awesome. It sounds like you're kind of in that phase now. But instead of going into the future, I want to go a little bit into the past a little bit because something I want to talk about for anyone watching that's thinking about freelancing or starting an online business, there's a lot of fear that goes along with it. And on my journey as well, when I was working a 9 to 5, I remember there was kind of a couple moments where I was like, you know what, this isn't necessarily the life I want to live, the career path I want to have. So on your end, is there any specific time or was it something that was maybe more gradual when you knew like, hey, I'm going to do something with online business. I'm not going to go down the traditional career route.
Oh, in my case, I was actually a teacher for an entire year. I taught
Hmm.
kindergarten students,
Oh,
and
wow.
that was because it's I think the common progression. You
Hmm.
graduate in education. I graduated with a degree in early childhood education, and then I took my professional license, and then that to me was like it's a predetermined path, and I felt like I really needed to teach for a year and just
Hmm.
test the waters kind of thing. And I honestly thought that it was going to be that for me, like it was
Yeah.
it, like I'm at the peak of my career. And because I really didn't think that there was any other opportunity out there, especially on the internet. I just thought the internet was used for Facebook and all these social media things, so I never really
Yeah.
thought that that existed. But then it was more of the stress for me. I wouldn't say that it was, like it just happened randomly or I figured out or I found a blog or something and like, that's it. Freelancing is the right thing for me. I
Hmm.
really was looking forward into becoming an author. That
Oh,
was the
okay.
first thing. So from being a teacher and then I started reading books and then I thought to myself, I feel like I want to write my very own book because I grew up with books.
Yeah.
And so thinking or being into that route of trying to publish my own book, I started to also understand that there might actually be some authors out there that might be needing the things that I'm doing for myself. So
Hmm.
that's when I started offering freelancing on book cover design and then formatting, editing, just all these things for authors, which my then boyfriend, now fiance, also taught me or told me to do. So he was like
Hmm.
saying, "Oh, you're kind of like doing it for yourself already, this book cover design and all. Why don't you, find clients out there who are wanting to do that too?" So that was the route that I took after I resigned because I just figured out that teaching wasn't really, something that my heart yearns for, or at least,
Yeah.
teaching
Hmm.
kindergarten pupils.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think that a lot of people can probably relate to that because a lot of times, like you said, you thought you were like at the mountaintop. And I was the same way. It's like
Yeah.
I finally got a job after college. It was a marketing job, you know, salary, everything. But then what happens is you kind of go internal and you're like, okay, well, what do I really want to do? So yeah, I think that's awesome that it sheds a light about how you started to kind of offer the services that you were doing for yourself for other people. So that kind
Mhm.
of gets me into my next question, which was I saw your video about like creating an online business from scratch and the whole like Dip Your Brush brand company you created. So I think that's awesome, but I wanted to know like what inspired you to kind of make that shift between like the different kind of services you were offering previously and then what you're kind of offering now with that whole brand. I think that's just kind of an interesting progression.
Yeah, so the thing with Dip Your Brush is that it has been in my mind for the past 5 years. Like
Oh, okay.
freelancing was just something that I took because I did not have any choice. It was
Yeah.
more of like I felt like I needed to offer a service because I needed the money right away. I needed to pay
Hmm.
the bills, and it was just this very low barrier of entry kind of thing when it comes to digital marketing. It's like, oh, you have a skill, you know how to do this, you could probably do that for other people to save them time. That was a really good option for me, and that's why I took freelancing, and then I started teaching others how to freelance. But really my heart really yearned for selling things,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
creating things and then selling them. It's really something that I really really wanted to do ever since I was a kid, ever since I was 9 years old. That was something that I really wanted to do. And it was just this year that I think, not really this year, but starting
Hmm.
last year, that I got my breakthrough, and I felt like I'm already financially comfortable, like I could sit for at least a year or two without having to work and I'm still going to be fine. And so I
Yeah.
thought, what else is there to do for me? Like I felt like I already have impacted quite a bit of people. I was able to teach people how to do the same thing that I did back in the day. I think this is now the time for me to do the things that I really want to do, which is creating things and selling them. And that has
Hmm.
something to do with art. So that was the transposition basically of
Yeah.
how I got into freelancing, then coaching, and then Dip Your Brush.
Awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like kind of throughout your journey, you really followed like what you felt, what was right. And then based on like your personality type as well. Cause like you said, you're like artistic, you want to sell things. So you were probably one of those kids that was like selling candy bars to make some money or something like that.
It wasn't even candy bars. The thing
Yeah.
is, my mom would actually laugh every time I tell this story, that
Hmm.
when I was 9, we actually have a lot of figurines and thingamabobs around the
Oh,
house that
okay.
just sits
Yeah.
there in the shelves and collect dust. So like my mind was like, okay, you're not even of any use in this house, so might as well I'll take you to my school and then I'll sell you, and then someone else can make use of you. So that's what I
Yeah.
did. All the old items, like I kind of like these things that people are doing right now on eBay, wherein done that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
so so that was what I did at a very young age. And yeah, my mom would always laugh at that story. She would always remember that, because she would also find one day, she's like, where did my figurines go?
Yeah. Where's all my stuff? You
Because
sold
I
it.
didn't. Exactly, my mom would wonder where did all that stuff went. And I didn't actually tell her where all those items are now. So
Yeah. It
it
was
just
you starting your
I kind of like
business.
basically stole it.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, yeah,
funny.
yeah. Exactly.
Well, yeah, it sounds like you had that kind of entrepreneurial drive from a young age. And I think a lot of people who end up in online business, they're like, they always kind of had to have that deep inside of them. And that's something else I kind of want to touch on is like with digital marketing, that's kind of where I found my way as well. Like when I was at 9 to 5, I was getting hands-on experience doing, you know, Google AdWords, doing graphic design and things
Mm.
like that. And I saw you have a lot of videos about, I know obviously you're more of the creative type. So I saw one of your videos about like graphic design using Canva, which I love. But maybe if you could shed some light on if someone's trying to figure out like what's a good skill set to kind of start to learn, is there a specific skill in digital marketing, or do you just kind of say, you know, you have to find something that is something that you're good at and that gets you excited? Or what advice would you give someone who's like, they want to freelance, they want to start a business, but they're just like, there's so many options, right? There's so many different skills you can offer, from SEO to paid ads to, social media. So is there any like advice you give people that are kind of starting their journey and trying to figure out what skill to start to learn?
Yeah, so first things first, in my case, I don't really like the idea of you being in a job or in a career that you don't absolutely love, or at least you're not interested in, because then if you're interested in something later on, you would learn to love it. So it's not like, oh, automatically I'm in love with graphic design, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. It's not always like that. So it's kind of like you try to fiddle into it and tinker on it, learn a little bit of it, and then you start to realize if you actually want to keep on doing it and not. And in that process of you wanting to know more about that specific skill, then you start falling in love with it. It's basically just any other relationship that's out there, right? It's not just about finding a skill. It's basically finding a good friend or a best friend that you want to hang out with, or the person that you would want to marry. It's basically the same thing. It's not going to be that love at first sight. And I wouldn't ever want to suggest to anyone to kind of like go to website design because you heard someone earning a lot of money in website design. And that's usually what drives people to pick a skill, is that if they heard someone that is earning a lot of money from that skill, then they'd be like, okay, let's go do that thing. And I wouldn't really suggest that, because then you would find yourself getting frustrated, demotivated. You'd start to procrastinate. You're going to disappoint your clients. You're going to find clients from hell. All these things, it's just going to become this downward spiral from there. And so if you're trying to find your skill, I would say first that try just observing your surroundings, like the things that you follow on social media, the people that you're following. What are these things that they're doing? Like, is there something specific that catches your eye, or you want to kind of like learn, or something that you're interested in? And then start putting a little bit of your time on it, not the 100% yet, right? So you start tinkering and following your curiosity and seeing if you really want to do that thing. And then later on, if you kind of like spent an ample amount of time on it, there will be one point in that time where you're like, I actually enjoyed this thing. And then that's your go-to signal that you might want to start offering that as a service, because if you're enjoying it, then you're going to start to love it, and then everything else will fall into its right place. So that's what I always tell people, is that never follow what other people say. Because it's always you do you. There's going to be something that you're going to enjoy that other people won't. Like, for example, in my case, I enjoy scuba diving, and a lot of people, when they see my Instagram stories, for example, it's like, it's about scuba diving again, can't relate. But but I don't care, because that's my thing. We're all unique, and it's going to be the same thing with the skill that you're going to pick. And apparently you're going to earn more money with the skill that you fall in love with, because you're going to be so good at it that you're going to be part of the premium freelance service providers. Like, that's how crazy it can get if you just start to fall in love with that skill. And again, it's not just going to be like love at first sight. It has to be gradual.
No, I think you touched on a lot of important things, especially like, I think the two things I really relate to most about what you said was like, the first thing, excuse me, is that it's not always going to be the first thing you start out with necessarily. So it's kind of a process where you're like, hey, get your feet wet, try different skills. And that's something I didn't really also understand in the beginning, because I was like, okay, I need to figure out what my skill set is as a freelancer. Do I want to do web design, or do I want to do social media? And I thought I had to kind of just go down that one path. But then what I realized was, it's actually better to kind of find, like you said, what you actually like doing. Because at the end of the day, being a freelancer or starting a business, you're going to have to put in, just so much effort into that. So if you pick something, like you said, just because it's like someone said you can make a lot of money with it, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of doing something that you actually love and enjoy. And like you also said, it's not going to be love at first sight, but what you can do is try to align the skill you provide with your personality type. So if you're creative, maybe look at graphic design, web design, creating social media graphics. Whereas if you're super like into numbers and math, you're probably not going to want to go down that design route. You're probably going to want to do something that's more organizational or managing campaigns. So I think that's also important for people starting out. If you're listening to this and you're just trying to figure out, where should I start? Just remember, it's better to just try to do something that you think that you're going to enjoy. And then throughout that journey, you can kind of learn some new things, what you actually like, and then kind of shift your path based on that. So I think that's also something that a lot of people can take and really just use that to springboard off of. And the other thing, kind of piggybacking off of that, is looking for inspiration in the marketplace. So I know I've watched some of your other videos where you mentioned some names, but I just wanted to ask, is there a couple names or just one person that was really influential to your journey, whether it's someone you know or someone just on YouTube, that kind of helped like shift your mindset to online business or personal branding? Is there anyone that kind of comes to mind that was helpful for you?
Oh, number one cheerleader, number one fan is going to be my fiance. So he's the one who changed my whole mindset. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, is that I never really knew what digital marketing was, because all I thought was that it was this thing that is used for social media. And so when he talked to me about digital marketing, starting to open my mind into these opportunities, you could only imagine my face was just like, what? This actually exists.
Yeah.
So he was he was the main person, and up until this day, he's the one that has taught me a lot of things. And because now I am very stubborn and I've known quite a bit now, so now we kind of like fight already, like, hey, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
You don't get to say any of this. So he's the first person, I would say, the very first one. And then the second one would be Seth Godin. Seth has influenced me in so many ways. He does not know me, probably not at all. He probably haven't even watched any of my videos, even if I published a couple. But he has really influenced me so much. I think that the idea of doing marketing for the service of other people has really spoken into me a gajillion times, that I would always spread his work to the people who have asked me, people would always ask, like, what are the books that you have been reading? People are influential to you. I would always mention his name, because he's the very person that told me that, a lot of digital marketers out there, which I totally agree, that are really, just doing in it for the money, not really servicing or not really doing service for people, that kind of stuff. And I really wanted to make sure that I am part of that group in the digital marketers community, wherein I'm here to serve rather than just, scam people or whatever. So he was a really influential one. And then the next one would be Simon Sinek. He's also part of the people that I always look up to. And it's crazy because he always talks about leadership, but there are a lot of stories. He's a really good storyteller. And so there are a lot of stories that he always says that I also say on my videos, because I'm just head over heels by the things that he's saying, and it always speaks true to me. So those are my top 3 people that has influenced me over the years.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's great. And I think I like how you kind of said someone in your personal life and other, people that are inspirational. And I know Simon Sinek, when I was kind of starting my whole journey as well, I found that video of his whole speech about like, what's your why, and how you need to find what your why is, your purpose. Because without that, everything else doesn't matter. It's garbage. Like if you wake up every day and you don't know why you're working so hard, why you're doing this, especially in online business, there's going to be some tough times. There's going to be challenges along the way, especially when you're just starting out. So do you have a specific purpose or why that you've kind of nailed down based on kind of his teaching? Is it just creating freedom in your life? Or I know you said you love teaching and kind of giving back. Is that your why?
My why, first and foremost, is that here in our country, in the Philippines, we are often being told that we are these freelancers that are cheap and worth a lot. And this causes a lot of commotion, not only in our country, but also for the freelancers that are not Filipinos, because then there are a lot of clients that would resort to hiring us because we're cheap and whatever, instead of hiring people in the US, right? And then also if they're hiring us, they're just going to pay us like $1 per hour or something ridiculous. And a lot of people would say that, hey, that's enough for the Filipinos because this is just, you know, the amount that they need. They're happy with it. But the reason actually why we are happy with it is because we do not know any better. We do not know that there's actually a better opportunity out there. Again, pointing back to the way I thought that the internet was only a way of, you know, spreading the word via social media, and that's it. I never thought about these opportunities. And it's the same with everyone in the country that is wanting to have freedom. We actually do not know that it's possible for you to earn $3,000 per month in freelancing. It's possible for you to do this in freelancing. Like, no one ever told us that. And so that's part of my why, is to make people, firstly, Filipinos, to realize that they're worth more, especially if they train themselves to be amazing. Right? Like, if you can't be worth more if you're just going to be settling for mediocrity and your skill is not even amazing. So unless you upskill, unless you learn these skills that are valuable to your client, then of course you're going to be paid high, and there's a ultimate chance that you're going to get to that. Second is also to make the hopefully foreign clients realize that, you know, regardless where you are in the world, you are supposed to be paid for by your value, rather. So you are supposed to be paid not because you are living in the Philippines and you should only be paid this amount of hour or whatever. You are supposed to be paid for the value that you are offering your client. Whatever you put on your client's table, that's exactly the amount that you are supposed to be receiving. And those are my two whys, is that because it's a two-way thing. It's not only because it's a foreign clients thing, like, hey, we should hate on other people or foreign clients that are paying us this, but Filipinos also need to realize that the reason why they are doing that is because we are accepting that. And that's where the commotion happens.
That makes so much sense.
Those are my top two whys.
That's awesome. That, I think a lot of people can relate, no matter if you're in the US or not, but I understand that a lot of people reach out to me and they kind of bring that up as well. They're like, hey, well, I'm not in the US like you are. I can't charge this much money. And I try to kind of rewire their brain, because I'm like, hey, there are people that are going to accept that whatever, $1 an hour, $2 an hour, but that's not you if you want to be successful. And you need to focus on not what everyone else is doing, but like you said, the value that you provide. Because there's always going to be freelance clients that hire just the cheapest person. But then there's also clients who want to actually hire the best person for their job. So I always tell people that as well, where it's like, you know, you can't change necessarily where you were born, obviously, but you can focus on how good of a service you can provide, how much value you can give back. And then over time, that does lead to, like you said, learning new skills, getting better at what you're doing, and then you can kind of increase your rates from there. So anyone that is watching this that's, you know, not in the US and you're feeling discouraged and you don't think there's money out there, just understand, you know, Demi did it, and she realized that she could go from being a consumer, consuming social media and all of this stuff, technology, to actually being a producer and producing valuable skills that you can get paid for. So my other question is relating to just money. When did you realize that like creating like more streams of income was so important to you? And how has that kind of shaped your life, if you will? Like just being able to create your own income, create multiple streams of income. How important is that? Because I know some people, they say, well, it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you just have a normal job, you're super secure. But what we've seen over the last year and a half is, you know, people just getting laid off, and they're actually realizing that they're not in the job that they want. So how important is that? Like creating your own money, creating your own streams of income?
Yeah, so I think that this all boils down to what you truly value. There are people who value security over freedom, and then there's people that are like me who are very stubborn and would rather have freedom rather than, exchanging that for security. Like to me, I even came to a point in time where I was only eating bread for like the entire week.
Oh,
Like I
wow.
was really hungry and
Yeah.
was about to get kicked by my landlady, like all these very ridiculous things,
Hmm.
basically from rags to riches kind of story. We all know how that's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So that's also kind of how I got to where I am right now. And there are people that are still telling me like, hey, I don't really want to freelance, or I don't want to
Hmm.
build an online business because it's so uncertain. And then I have people that I need to feed, my children, all that kind of stuff, which I totally understand. And there's nothing wrong with that. But then I also want to ask you, like, is this, like being secured or having security, is that all you want for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Would you not want to think about the things that you can do when you have freedom? And that is why it's important for me to create my own stream of income or multiple streams of income, because I'm very stubborn. And when I want something, I'm really going to go get it. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
Even if you ask my fiance and my friends, like, I'm very stubborn. When I put my head on something, I'm really going to go get it. And it's part of that thing. It's freedom is so important for me that it comes, as part of my top priority. And so when
Yeah.
people tell me like, hey, even my mom, hi mom, if you're watching, I'm so sorry. but my mom would always say, hey, maybe you should renew your professional license, because
Hmm.
I was supposed to renew it last year December, and I didn't renew my license at all because I did not see any point into it anymore.
Yeah.
Because like then I said, I have my own business now, like I feel very confident about it. And if, knock on wood, there comes a time where I'm going to have trouble in my business, I'm going to find my way around it. That's just what it
Yep.
is. There's no turning back on this one anymore. And, people are saying like, hey, your license is going to make you secure,
Hmm.
education, da, 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 da. It's just going to be this thing wherein I listen to it with my right ear. It's going to happen to go out on the left.
Yeah.
It's just going to be like that for me. I don't really listen to that kind of stuff anymore because, I've been in this field for 5 years, just running the treadmill, and I know how
Hmm.
this works in and out. And so I'm super confident now. But like I said, when it comes to priorities, it's going to be different for each and every one of us. I
Yep.
even recall really putting freedom in a silver platter for
Hmm.
someone in my team then. And I told him, I said, this is what you're going to make every single year, just become full-time with us, because I really really love him and the work that he does.
Yeah.
But then what happened was he turned down that very freedom that we kind of like offered him
Wow.
in a silver
Hmm.
platter, and he said, no, I'm going to go back to my employment job. And you can only imagine, me and my fiance was like,
Mind blown. Like
what?
what?
Like that
Yeah.
was,
It's like
we
what?
were so mind blown, really, because I guess I have no idea how one person just turn down the freedom like that. And we
Yeah.
gave him like no logins, no specific login times, just give us the proper, deliverable on that specific day. We have no problem with you, we love you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And we were really preparing everything for him. We were very much willing to spend this amount of money to pay him monthly, and he said, nope, this is not going to happen, I'm going to go back to my employment job. We would like,
That's crazy.
wow, okay, like
Yeah.
it really is crazy for us. But then, like what I said, there are people that are valuing security more than freedom.
Yep.
So regardless if you put that in a silver platter, they're still going to go back to that thing because that's what they value.
Yeah.
And we cannot really do anything about that. So yeah, that's basically it. It's a matter of values and priorities for
Yeah.
me.
I think that's awesome. The way you put that, and it's like, if you do have the same sort of kind of spirit that, both of us do, and you're listening to this, I think that's a really good piece of advice to understand, is that you always have to go after what you want in life, not what someone else wants for you, not what your parents want. Everyone has their own agenda, but only you know what is right for you. And that's why I do tell people, if you are interested in freelancing, starting your own business, putting that energy into just trying it out. Like, you can always go back to what you were doing before. If you just have a normal job, that's not going anywhere. But what is going somewhere is your time. And the sooner you get started, the better, because you can figure out, is this right for you? Do you want to go down this path? Or do you, like you said, just want to have security and do the minimum to kind of get by? And I think some people want that, which is fine. But other people, and a lot of people, you know, freelancing is a booming industry. It's growing every year. They're realizing that they do want to have that freedom. So I really appreciate you kind of sharing a little bit into your journey. If there's anywhere, you know, anywhere people can find you that you want to promote, now's your chance. Just let people know where they can watch your content.
Oh, so the best way to look into my content and follow me would be on YouTube. I'm at Demi Bernice on YouTube, and yeah, basically everything else follows. You're going to be able to see my Instagram and that kind of stuff, but the best way would really be on YouTube, because I am publishing one video a week, and hopefully it is to your liking. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, everyone go follow or subscribe to Demi Bernice on YouTube, watch her content. And once again, I really appreciate you coming on. This was awesome. I feel like we got into some good content that's really going to help people out that are interested in online business. So thank you, Demi. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I would be happy to come back.
Awesome. Yeah. Till next time. I'm sure we have so much more we can kind of get into. So yeah, maybe we'll do a part 2 soon. But until then, I appreciate it. And everyone out there, I look forward to your success.